Welcome to the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Grantee Training. In this presentation, we will be discussing pre-qualification. We will introduce you to the GATA portal and where to find your pre-qualification status. We will break down each of the pre-qualification requirements before sharing important tips and reminders. Finally, we will wrap up by introducing some helpful resources. What do we mean when we say pre-qualification? The state of Illinois has defined a set of requirements for all organizations seeking to receive grant funding. Entities who wish to do business with the state of Illinois must meet these requirements to be deemed qualified and in good standing. Pre-qualification demonstrates that an organization has met all legal requirements, obtained all of the necessary registrations, and has a proven track record of compliance. Pre-qualification status must first be obtained by an organization, but this status must then be maintained for the entire lifespan of the grant program, or if your organization wishes to continue to apply for and receive grant funds. Organizations seeking grant funds should get started by registering themselves and their organizations in the GATA portal. GATA stands for Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, which is landmark legislation that increases accountability and transparency in the use of grant funds while reducing the administrative burden on both state agencies and grantees through adoption of the federal grant guidance and regulations codified at 2 CFR Part 200 or uniform requirements. The GATA portal is a centralized location used by grantees, grant managers, and other administrative individuals associated with grant funding. Here, grantees can view the status of various procedures, like indirect cost rate elections and risk assessments. The GATA portal is also where grantees will be able to review their pre-qualification status. The GATA portal will also direct you to your grant's cognizant agency, or the agency that has funded a majority of your grant program. However, this is not always the case, and a cognizant agency may be assigned based on other criteria. The cognizant agency is the entity you can contact for questions regarding things like audits, risk assessments, and indirect cost rates. Additionally, the GATA portal updates nightly to reflect any pre-qualification changes. Grantees are also notified via email should their pre-qualification status change. Our first item in the pre-qualification list is SAM.gov. SAM.gov is the System for Award Management, an official website of the U.S. government. Here, grantees must register to do business with the U.S. government. The state of Illinois requires SAM.gov registration to apply for grant awards. Through SAM.gov, grantees will receive a unique entity identifier, also known as a UEI. Your UEI is a 12-character alphanumeric identifier used in SAM.gov and other federal government systems to identify a unique entity. Registration with SAM.gov must be renewed annually. When registering, entities are given the choice to have their accounts set to public or private. Illinois Administrative Code requires grantees to set their accounts to public. A public registration means that when your registration is renewed annually, the updated registration expiration date will automatically update in the GATA portal, making it easier for you to stay in pre-qual status under this category. Accounts set to private must provide proof of active registration annually, and the change in GATA must be made manually by the Grant Accountability and Transparency Unit, also known as GATU. Because GATA does not recognize the updated registration, your pre-qualified status could be interrupted. It is important to note the difference between signing up with SAM.gov and registering. Signing up with SAM.gov will provide grantees with their UEI, but it does not mean the account is registered to do business with the federal government. Registration entails TIN and CAGE code validation as well as other processing and validation. New registrations can take an average of 7 to 10 business days to process. Grantees will receive an email alert once registration is active. Please note that the state of Illinois requires that grantees sign up and complete registration. Grantees are required to have a federal employer identification number, known as an FEIN or FEIN. This number is used to identify a business entity. The IRS provides fees free of charge. Fee applications can be submitted online, by fax, or by U.S. mail. Timeframes for receiving your fee depends on the application method used. Verification of the organization's fee will be confirmed automatically in GATA. The Federal Excluded Parties List identifies entities excluded from receiving federal contracts, subcontracts, and other types of federal or non-federal financial assistance or benefits. Exclusions can also be referred to as suspensions or debarments. Grantees are placed on this list for non-compliance and will not be removed until certain conditions are met or until issues are remedied. Organizations on this list are banned from doing business with any federal grant for an indefinite period. The Federal Excluded Parties List is available and searchable on sam.gov. To do business with the state of Illinois, entities must be registered with the Illinois Secretary of State and obtain a certificate of good standing. This applies only to non-governmental entities. The certificate of good standing demonstrates that the entity exists and that is in full compliance with state regulations. Entities may register with the Secretary of State at ilsos.gov. The Secretary of State website has a special section of business resources that can assist organizations obtain their certificate of good standing. Please note that the certificate of good standing must be renewed annually. Entities that must meet this requirement include corporations, not-for-profit corporations, limited partnerships, limited liability companies, and limited liability partnerships. A very important part of pre-qualification is the Illinois Stop Payment List. This list includes all entities who have been found to be non-compliant with their grant agreement or grant policies. These organizations cannot receive grant funds or execute or modify a grant agreement with any state agency across all of Illinois. Most of the time, grantees can remediate the non-compliance issue and can be removed from the Illinois Stop Payment List. In these instances, grantees are placed on the Illinois Stop Payment List in temporary status. However, if the issue is of a very serious or fraudulent nature, with due process, the grantee will be placed permanently on the Illinois Stop Payment List. There is a Help button located next to the Illinois Stop Payment List field in the Pre-Qualification section of the GATA portal. If your organization is shown as On List, you can click this button to identify the agency that placed you on the Illinois Stop Payment List and who to contact to discuss next steps in remediating the issue. You may also contact the technical support team with the Office of Accountability for more information by emailing ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. The Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services, or DHFS, has the authority to impose sanctions on entities and individuals. Those organizations on the Illinois DHFS sanction list are not eligible for Medicaid reimbursement. The sanction is the result of administrative action taken against the organization in question when found to be in violation of administrative rule, civil law, or criminal offense. Types of sanctions include suspension, termination, barment, or exclusion. Pre-qualification requires active registrations with different entities. We recommend marking your calendar and scheduling time to renew registrations before they expire. SAM.gov registrations are to be renewed annually and registrations should always be set to public to ensure that new expiration dates are reflected in your GATA profile. Note that next to each of the items discussed today, you'll see there is a Help button available. Use this Help button to learn more about each requirement and how to remediate any issues. Remember, the technical support team with the Office of Accountability is available to assist with any questions or issues regarding pre-qualification. You may reach out by emailing ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. Another important tip is to ensure the contacts listed in the GATA portal are accurate and up to date and that each contact has correctly set up alerts and notifications. This will ensure that your organization is receiving important updates and information to help you maintain your pre-qualified status. Additionally, we strongly encourage grantees to have more than one individual from the organization with full GATA access. If only one person has access to the GATA portal and they leave the organization or are otherwise unavailable, this prevents your team from accessing the portal. Access can be managed in the GATA portal. We'd like to offer some resources that may increase your knowledge of pre-qualification. You'll be able to scan the QR codes on the screen with your mobile device, or you can pause the video to copy down the bit.ly addresses below to enter into your web browser. Please note that all URLs shown are case-sensitive. First, the GATA New User Guide will demonstrate how to register with the GATA system and navigate the portal. The GAT2 resource library contains forms, manuals, and other items that will outline different components of grants with DCEO. GAT2 stands for Grant Accountability and Transparency Unit, which is part of the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, also known as GOMB. The GATA portal FAQ will elaborate on common questions and issues that users have encountered with GATA. For additional resources, please visit DCEO's Grantee resource page by scanning the QR code with your mobile device or visit dceo.illinois.gov/DCEO-grants. Thank you for watching this presentation on pre-qualification. If you have any questions, please reach out to ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov.